For the first time, the state's Commission on the Status of Women is being led by a person of color. The new chair is a Hyde Park resident who was appointed to the commission by Governor Baker. Along with having served as the commission's vice chair and treasurer, she has extensive experience in nonprofit management and currently is president of the fundraising foundation for Boston Arts Academy. We'd like to welcome Denella Clark. Thank you very much for being with us, Denella.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me, and thank you for the opportunity.
So I know you've been on this commission for a number of years already, but I imagine you have also lived through some of the challenges that this commission is meant to address. Is there anything you can tell us about that?
Sure. I would say one of the things that I've lived through, as many other professional women, and particularly women of color, is pay equity. In the Commonwealth today, as a Black woman, for every dollar that a white man makes, Chris, white women make 82 cents, Latina women make 61 cents, and Black women make 65 cents. And, throughout the course of my own career, I always felt that I was being underpaid, but really knew that when I came into my current role at Boston Arts Academy Foundation, I would say that the only thing that's likened to Boston Arts Academy is the Boston Latin School has a foundation. And Peter Kelly, who is a dear friend and a peer in the field, as I was negotiating my own salary and coming on board, Peter was very generous to share sort of where he was at. And again, I was fortunate in that our board is led by Lee Pelton, but because of the change in the law, I was able to go to Lee and go to the board and say, this is what my salary should be. This is what the comp should be. And again, fortunately, my board accepted that and made sure that there was equity. We're both employees within the city and have similar jobs, but oftentimes I don't see that happening. And when you think about wealth, economic inequality, when you think about the fact that women in many households are single parents, or particularly a lot of the women that we're serving, pay equity is really, really important. And I was really proud to stand there with Governor Baker on August 1st, 2016, when he signed into law pay equity. We were the first in the nation, and it went into effect July 1st, 2018.
Well, when we talk about gender equity, it's supposed to mean that women of comparable skills make less money than men. If you go beyond that to the racial gap, because you said Black and Latina women make a lot less, why is that, you think?
Well, honestly, Chris, I think some of it is just based on unconscious bias. And I also think, I've heard many corporate CEOs say, and leaders, that it's unfortunate that we have to have a law if people have comparable skills, comparable degrees, that they have to be forced. So I think some of it is as unconscious bias, but I also think, in fairness to companies, sometimes companies are probably thinking we want to do what's best for the company and best for the bottom line. And the third thing I'll say is that I think oftentimes women are just eager to get the job, and we don't do a good job in advocating for ourselves and doing salary negotiations. I was really proud of the work that Mayor Walsh did. When the law was signed into effect, the city of Boston, because I participated in several of those events, they really went around and explained to women how to do salary negotiation workshops, what employers can and cannot ask about your prior salary history. So
By the
those
way,
are the three reasons. I would just amplify again. I think the three reasons is some of it is unconscious bias. I think the second thing I'd say is companies are trying to do what's in the best interest of the company. And if they could save 35 cents on a dollar, they will try to do that. And then I think as women, we don't do a good job negotiating for ourselves.
Well, one thing, maybe we notice this more now because of the pandemic. There are a lot of fields where much of the workforce is women, maybe women of color too. And we look at those workers differently now because we see them more as essential. What does that mean going forward for the commission?
Well, we know that the commission did a COVID-19 report back in April, and we know that the pandemic is impacting more women, whether or not from an economy state or a health state, than it is men in our Commonwealth. And I think what it means is it's going to continue to happen. When you think about, for example, my own sister works in the hospitality industry, and at the start of the pandemic, she was furloughed only to be called back to be um, laid off. So when you think about who the number of, and I don't have these statistics, but I know that a lot of more women than men are unemployed. And then when you think about who actually has to go to work, whether or not it's to clean the hospitals, the low income workers, it's women that are really struggling and bearing a lot of what's happening with the pandemic.
Of course, the other pressing issue right now is childcare. Do you see the commission trying to focus on that in any way?
We very much are. We are planning another public hearing in September. We are very focused on childcare. We will be doing that in September. I'll also say, just to go back really quickly to pay equity, August 13th is Black Women Pay Equity Day National, and we will be partnering, I will be partnering and speaking alongside Treasurer Deb Goldberg with regard to that. But back to childcare, we will have a public hearing on childcare in September, and we'll get that out to the broader universe. We want to collect data and information so that we could share that with the Baker administration and the legislators, to see as a state provides resources and figure out how we could help women and families during this difficult time. Yeah, that's a big issue for us right now, childcare.
I imagine you're still concerned about the leadership gap, whether it's in private corporations or even in the nonprofit sector. What do you see that still needs to be done with that?
Well, we are part of a coalition for parity on boards and commission, both paid boards and nonprofit boards. We are part of a group that, with Andrea Silbert, the Women's Power Gap, looking to see whether or not it be higher ed, nonprofits, corporations, looking to see what women are there either on the board or in the C-suite position. So that is ongoing work for us. The other thing that I'm really excited about, Chris, is also women in elected office. 5 years ago when I was appointed to the commission, we only had about 23% women at the State House. Today it's 31%. I would love to see a day when it's 50%. We're here on BNN. I am a resident of the city. I tell you that I am incredibly proud that the Boston City Council now has a majority women on it. And I'm excited also when, I think about what am I hopeful for in this pandemic. I'm really excited that Vice President Biden has said that he will pick a woman to be his running mate. I think women in leadership, whether or not it's nonprofit, corporate, or government, brings a very unique lens to the work. And so, yes, we need women in leadership everywhere.
Well, having a woman in a leadership position can make a difference. You experienced that maybe very closely when Ayanna Pressley became the congresswoman for much of Boston, and you worked with her on the issue to make it easier for women running for office to get help with childcare. What was that like for you?
You know, Ayana and I have been friends for 20 years or more when she worked for John Kerry. And then also, she tells people I held her first fundraiser when she ran for city council. But what's been eye opening about back in November of last year, she and I are working on this childcare bill. What's really surprising to me, Chris, in 14 states and at the federal level, there is within childcare in your campaign finance. Do you know in Massachusetts, a man could take money from his campaign finance account to rent a tuxedo, for example, but a woman cannot take money from her campaign finance account for either childcare or elder care. Now, in 14 other states and at the federal level, you can do that. We need to change that in Massachusetts because, again, if women are in large part responsible for the home, whether or not for childcare and elder care, this is a barrier that needs to be removed if we truly want parity in government, if we truly want the state house to reflect the numbers in the Commonwealth. Believe it or not, there's more females in the Commonwealth than there are males.